back to the channel, and today is my winter wrap up. Now, winter was a little bit quieter for me than the summer and the autumn was. I actually only read 11 books, and this was only about 5,200 and some pages. So the book count and the page count did come down a little bit, but it was quite a busy month for me work-wise. Sorry, a busy quarter for me work-wise, and obviously we had the holidays as well, so things were a little bit down, but the books I read were very, very good. There'll only be 2 books on here of the 11 that aren't a recommend, though one is a situational recommend. The first book, because these will all be in order of which I appreciated them, so we'll start and we'll slowly get towards kind of my book of the quarter at the end. So, Deadly Game by Michael Caine is a book I read on New Year, and this was kind of a crime thriller, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It's got a strong author's voice and there's plenty of action, but it isn't the best written book, and some of the twists are a little obvious. One book I would recommend, but it is very situational, is this Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. Very sweet, very nicely put together. A really, really lovely read for Christmas, but I certainly wouldn't read it any other time. So that's that one there. All the books from here on in, I would class as very good books. So these would all have got a 3.5 stars or more from me. The first of those is Sharpe's Trafalgar, about the Battle of Trafalgar, funnily enough. Yeah, really good naval battles in here, really good kind of action romp. Next up, I started my journey with James Bond, and Casino Royale I will put in next. Yeah, no problems with this at all. A little bit deeper than I was expecting, different from the movie adaptations, and certainly worth a read. Next up is book 5 in the Wheel of Time, Fires of Heaven. Chunky 900-pager, really enjoyed it. Wasn't the strongest book in the series so far, but certainly a very good book. From here on in, all of these books I would consider great, so they all scored more than 4 stars or more on my personal rating system. First of those is The Hogfather, a Discworld book by Terry Pratchett. Very, very funny, but very seasonal, so I'd understand if that's not hitting the top of your TBR at the moment. Next up, first of 2 Dumas books that I read in the winter, and that is The Three Musketeers. Really, really enjoyed The Three Musketeers. A hell of a lot funnier than I was expecting. Plenty of action in there as well. Yeah, really, really good. Next up is a book that would have been in contention for Book of the Quarter, to be fair. That is A Christmas Carol. Very seasonal again. Extremely well written. Dickens does it again. I've only read a few of his books, but yeah, he's never missed for me. I think the quality of his writing is exceptional. And then finally, it comes to what is the book for the quarter. And I'm actually going to throw my hands up and tell you that I actually don't know. I'm going to put up the next 3 books, and they're all of a very similar quality for me. I have to let all 3 of them sit, so I can try to figure out in time for the end of the year. 2 of these books will be up for Book of the Year contention this year. And 1 has already been on my top 10 list for last year. So they are very high quality books. I can't really split them, so I'm just going to hold them up one at a time and tell you about them. First up is the most recent book on this list, and because it is so recent, I haven't had time to really decide exactly where this would sit in a ranking, but it is Gaijin by James Clavell, an enormous book, book 3 in the Asian sagas, over 1,000 pages, but very much worth it. The next book, even bigger, that is The Count of Monte Cristo, again over 1,000 pages by Alexander Dumas. Another fantastic book. Both of these very, very highly recommended. Either of these could be a book of the quarter, to be fair. And then finally, we have Ship of Destiny, which was already on my best books of the year for 2023. So I don't have to say too much more about this, but yeah, I think it was of a similar quality to the last 2 books I just held up. And all 3 of those books, if you've never read them, if they're your genre, if they're your bag, I could certainly recommend popping those on your TBR. It was a very good reading quarter for me, and I'm sure it's going to be an absolute knife fight in spring as well. Some of the books on there, some of the classics, some of the fantasy series I'm going to be reading. It's really stacked. Let me know, what was your best book of the winter period?